I never thought a piece of cloth would get me fined. But then again, the American flag isn't just cloth, is it? Not to me, not to my family. It's more than stars and stripes fluttering in the wind. It's what draped my father's casket. It's what they folded and handed to my mother while I stood frozen in full dress uniform, trying not to fall apart. It's what my brother took with him into combat when he deployed to Fallujah, the same one they found folded into his backpack after the blast. So yeah, when the HOA told me I had to take it down, that it violated community rules, that it clashed with the aesthetic of the neighborhood, those were their exact words. I didn't just see an annoying letter on my door. I saw disrespect. I saw ignorance. And I saw a challenge I wasn't willing to ignore. After my brother died, I moved back to my hometown to care for my mom. She was never the same after losing both the men in her life. But the flagpole my dad had installed in the yard before his final deployment, it became her ritual. Every morning she'd raise the flag. Every evening she'd lower it. Even when her knees gave out, she still made her way to that pole. That simple movement, rope, pull, salute, was how she stayed connected. And when she passed away 2 years ago, I kept it going. Then out of nowhere, this newly elected HOA sends me a notice. Not a conversation, not a courtesy knock. A cold threat. Remove unauthorized vertical installations exceeding height code. Your flagpole violates Article 6, subsection 12. Failure to comply within 48 hours will result in daily fines of $100. I stared at that notice and felt a heat in my chest. I hadn't felt since my deployment. I wasn't angry. I was offended. Determined. I sent an email to the board respectfully explaining the flagpole's history. I shared photos. I offered to meet. I even suggested installing a shorter pole, if that was the issue. I thought maybe this was just a mistake. They didn't respond. 3 days later, I got a second notice. Fine, now active. $300 owed. That was the moment I realized. They didn't care. At that point, I decided if they wanted to play hardball, I was more than ready. After all, I didn't spend 8 years serving overseas, just to let some paper-pushing HOA board erase my family's legacy. I started digging. Not just into HOA bylaws, but into their records. Who was on the board? Who voted in the flagpole rule? What kind of enforcement patterns they had? It didn't take long to find something odd. The rule they cited, it was only added 2 months ago. And it wasn't even properly voted in. The meeting minutes showed only 3 members present, not the required quorum. Sloppy governance. Classic HOA overreach. But that was just the beginning. I started talking to neighbors, and what I learned made my stomach turn. One veteran was fined for placing a small American flag in a flower pot by his front door. Another woman said her dad's Navy memorabilia was suggested for removal because it might make neighbors uncomfortable. They weren't just regulating, they were targeting patriotism, silencing it, as if pride in service was something shameful. That night I posted my story on a local Facebook group and a few veteran forums. I included the flagpole's backstory, my father's sacrifice, my brother's death, my mother's tradition. I shared the notice I received from the HOA and asked one simple question: is this who we are now? It went viral in under 12 hours. By morning, I had over 3,000 comments. Veterans from across the country offering support, lawyers volunteering to represent me for free, and dozens of people from nearby towns asking if they could visit, to stand with me, and they did. Within 48 hours, my front lawn turned into a living tribute. Over 100 miniature American flags planted in the grass by people I'd never met. A retired Air Force colonel drove 2 hours to stand on my porch and salute. Kids from the high school down the road marched down my block holding homemade signs that read, "Let it fly." Local news showed up. I did one interview, then another. And then I got a call I wasn't expecting from a federal VA representative who seen the broadcast and wanted to report the HOA to the state attorney's office for possible civil rights violations. Meanwhile, the HOA sent me an email, a weak attempt at reclarifying the intent of the rule. I ignored it, because by then it wasn't just about me. It was bigger than my pole or my house. It was about every service member who'd ever fought for that flag, being told they couldn't raise it in their own front yard. The following week, everything came crashing down for them. The Attorney General's office opened an investigation into the HOA for discriminatory policy enforcement. Turns out, this wasn't their first complaint. There were 6 others filed in the past 2 years, but quietly settled or dropped. This time, under the public spotlight, there was no way out. News cameras showed up to the HOA's monthly meeting. Protesters stood on the sidewalk waving flags. And when the board president finally took the mic, all she could say was, "We regret the misunderstanding. Too little, way too late." Under legal pressure and mounting public shame, the board was forced to rescind the flagpole rule entirely. 3 members resigned that same night. The remaining ones were placed under formal review. And me, I didn't just get to keep my flagpole. I received over $1.2 million worth of offers. Legal settlements. Donations from patriots. Even a full scholarship fund started in my brother's name. Turned most of it down, except for one thing. Company in Texas reached out and offered to design a new memorial pole, custom forged with the names of my father and brother engraved at its base. I accepted that. Today, that pole stands taller than ever, surrounded by stones etched with their military honors. Every sunrise, I raise the flag like my mother used to. Every night I lower it and salute, not just for my family, but for everyone who ever wore a uniform and dared to believe in something bigger than themselves. And sometimes, when I see neighbors walk by with their kids, they stop and salute too. Quiet, respectful. Some of them were the same ones who once stayed silent. But not anymore, because that's what this was really about, wasn't it? Silence, and the choice to break it. You don't get to silence someone's sacrifice, not with fines, not with threats, not with neighborhood rules. You don't get to erase legacy, because it doesn't match your landscaping vision. That flag stays. And if you don't like it, maybe it's not the flag that doesn't belong to you.